Intro to English Poetry. We will do 4 things today. First, I will teach you 8 vocabulary words, and then we will look at examples of each one. I will also show you 5 steps for how to write poetry. And finally, the homework assignment will be to take a picture of your notes and send them to me in Google Classroom. Let's begin. The first 4 vocabulary words are couplet, complete, deepen, and contrast. As you watch the following video, try to write down what each of these words means.
Poems are most basically structured by couplets, 2 short lines that are carefully worded and placed beside each other. The first line makes the basic statement, and then the second line develops it in some way. It can do this by completing the thought, or deepening it with different words or images, or by contrasting it in some way.
A couplet is 2 lines of a poem that go together. So couplets are often in poems, side by side, 2 lines that belong together. These couplets can do 3 things. They can complete one another, so the second couplet will finish what the first couplet started to say. They can deepen, so the second couplet will give more detail about what was said in the first line of the couplet. Or they can contrast. Each line of the couplet will contrast something different to show a difference between them. Now let's move on to the next vocabulary word, metaphor. Metaphors are a big deal in poetry. We're going to use a lot of different kinds of metaphors. Today, let's just learn the basics of what a metaphor is in general. As you watch the following video clip, see if you can write a definition of metaphor.
So, some things in life are easy to understand because they're tangible, physical experiences, like being cold.
Yeah, being cold is no fun.
But other experiences aren't as concrete, like when somebody doesn't like you.
But that's no fun either.
So 2 very different things, but notice how your mind has linked them together without you knowing it. So when we say things like, she gave me the cold shoulder, or don't be so cold.
You could also flip it around and think of affection as warmth. It took him a while to warm up to me, or she's a warm person.
Exactly. So we take a basic concept, like warmth, and then we map it onto an abstract concept, like affection. It gives us a more imaginative way to talk about our experiences.
We're thinking in metaphors.
Yeah, they provide the framework for how our minds make sense of the world. Metaphors govern all of our thinking and language.
Like right there, metaphors govern. That's a metaphor in and of itself, saying that ideas are rulers.
Or think about a connected metaphor that competing ideas are at war.
Yeah, in a debate, I have to defend my position and provide backup so I could win the argument.
And so you can see, metaphors aren't just a fancy way of writing, they're everywhere in our language. And the metaphors we use shape our imaginations and our behavior.
All right, so the definition of metaphor is a word or phrase used to represent something else. So metaphors are whenever you use words or groups of words to describe something that they are not. We heard some examples of metaphor in the video, such as fire is passion, or time is money. Those are some examples of metaphor, and I'm sure you saw a few others as well in the video. Okay, let's look at some examples of metaphor. We're going to listen to part of a song, and I want you to see how many metaphors you can find in this little clip from a song.
You've got it all, you lost your mind in the sound. There's so much more, you can reclaim your crown. You're in control, rid of the monsters inside your head. Put all your faults to bed. You can be
Okay, so this song had a lot of different metaphors in it. Among them, just to name a couple of metaphors, she said, the monsters inside your head. Monsters is clearly not something literal, so we know that it must be a metaphor. And monsters inside your head, because they're in your head, I would imagine they're probably like negative thinking or negative thoughts, something that you think about inside of your head, which is not good because monsters are typically scary or mean things, right? So that's probably a metaphor. And there were also other metaphors like you can be king again. She's probably not talking about a person who will actually become a king of a country. She's probably talking about you becoming good again, or becoming a ruler again, or becoming in charge of your own thoughts or emotions. The beauty of metaphor is that when you use metaphor in your art, whether it's music or poetry, it can be interpreted in different ways depending on who is receiving that, who is listening to that or reading that. So it's beautiful because that is one of the beauty of art, that it can be interpreted in many different ways. And so I'm sure you found some other metaphors in the video, in the little song clip. So if you found some, you can go ahead and jot them down on your notes, and I will see them when I check your homework later. Now let's talk about puns. Puns are also a kind of wordplay that are very often used in poetry and sometimes in song as well. But we're going to listen to a poem by a man whose name is Juan. Okay, it's spelled Juan. It's a Hispanic name and it sounds like Juan. Okay, let's listen to his poem about his name.
My name is Juan, and once upon a time, don't get sleepy and let this go in one ear and out the other. You're about to get hit with a lot of Juan puns in here, one right after another. Like me, there is no other. Mr. Wonderful is the name. A Juan of all trades. I'll wear fresh Air Force Juans, cause I know who I am. And John Mayer would agree that this body is a wonderland. Refined by Taekwondo, I'll take on the whole group. Fueled by warm little noodles and some wonton soup. Set for success, I'm gonna make billions very unique. You see, I'm one in a million, just so secure in me there's no doubting. Wait, there's another Juan. Oh no, now I'm Juan in 500,000. Okay, there's two, not Juan. Is that true? Can it be? Then I went to Latin America and found out that Juans are one in three. Okay, whew. This is a lot to ponder, and it's starting to feel like I'm just this one-hit wonder. Maybe I'm not as unique as I thought, but it's all I got. I don't want to be known as a little train that cannot, and this little engine's about to fall right off its track. Get back! I think I'm having what they call a Hispanic attack.
Okay, so as you could hear in the poem, and you can probably guess, a pun is a word or phrase with two meanings, one of which is meant to be funny. So you could hear him using his name, Juan, a lot of times to sound like the number one or other words that sound like Juan. So he was making a lot of puns and doing a lot of wordplay throughout the poem. All right, so puns are something you can add to your poem to make it more interesting and fun. Let's go to the next one, rhyme. The next word is rhyme. Rhyme is something else that's very, very commonly used in poetry. And here is a famous rhyme from Dr. Seuss. Through 3 cheese trees, 3 free fleas flew. While these fleas flew, breezy breeze blew. Breezy breeze made these 3 trees freeze. Breezy trees made these trees cheese freeze. That's what made these 3 free fleas sneeze. There's a lot of rhymes in there, and you can probably guess that a rhyme means that two words have similar sounds at the end. So have or end with a sound that corresponds to another. So 3, cheese, trees, free, 3, they all end with the E sound. Other words such as cat, hat, bat, that, they all end with the at sound, so they rhyme. So when the words or end of a line have sounds that correspond with each other, they are rhyming. Okay, they're rhyming words. Good. The last word is refrain. Now we're going to listen to a song, a very famous song that has a refrain, and see if you can hear what the refrain is, and then we'll write a definition for refrain.
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be.
Okay. If you couldn't tell, the refrain there was let it be. All right, so a refrain is a repeated line or a number of lines in a poem or song. Now, you heard at the beginning of the song, at the end of each chorus, he said, let it be. So some words, some words, some words, let it be. Some more words, some more words, some more words, and then let it be. All right, so that is a refrain. Repeating a line twice somewhere in the poem or somewhere in the song, that doesn't make it a refrain. It's only a refrain if it repeats throughout the song or throughout the poem. That is what makes it a refrain. Okay, very good. Now let's move on to a different kind of poetry, narrative poetry. Now I want to tell you about narrative poetry because the style of poetry that I am going to be teaching you is very similar and is often used in narrative poetry. Okay, we're going to be learning about free verse poetry. Free verse poetry doesn't have any structure or like formal format or anything like that. But it can be used to tell a story. And that is what narrative poetry does. Narrative poetry tells a story, but it's different from a story. It's not exactly the same as just telling a story. Let's look at a video and find out what's different.
So, one part of the story goes like this.
The waters were divided, and the Israelites went through on dry land with a wall of water on their right and on their left.
That seems pretty clear.
Right?
Now, the poem telling the same event.
O Lord, by the blast of your nostrils, the waters piled up. Surging waters stood like a wall. Deep waters congealed in the heart of the sea. Whoa, a wall of surging water like jello and divine nostrils? This is intense.
Yeah, the poem ignites your imagination through the experience of verbal art.
All right, as you heard in that video, a poem ignites your imagination through a kind of verbal art. So it uses more metaphor. It uses more of those techniques, those vocabulary words that I taught you, like metaphor and rhyme and on those kind of things. Okay, so that's what makes it a poem and not just a story. Okay, so let's keep that in mind as you are preparing your poems. Now we're going to watch a video, 5 steps for how to write a poem. I will leave the link for this video down below, so you can go ahead and watch this video about how to write a poem. I want you to write down the 5 steps for writing a poem, and then make sure you take a picture of your notes and post them on the Google Classroom. Okay, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.